So, in answer to the question, why do we hate the Jews? Why should we hate the Jews? Hatred of the Jews is the oldest, longest lasting, most virulent hatred of any group in the history of the world. Started about 3,500 years ago. Mostly started with Rome when they invaded and tried to conquer and subjugate the Jews in Israel, and had a very difficult time. They were very hard to uh, to conquer and subjugate, and Rome almost went broke doing that. And so they've hated him ever since. And then as Rome changed to from pagan Rome to Christian Rome, then it changed. Their reasoning for hating them became, well, they killed Christ, and uh, became a religious war, which has lasted to this day with the Christian churches. And they have had the hatred of 1,000 burning suns for that, for them. Uh, and Rome, the Christian Rome, then went in and had their crusades, and eventually running all the Jews, most of the Jews, over millennia out, fleeing for their lives to Europe, to Asia, where they found that they were the newcomers, and as such were hated for every reason and no reason, for being rich and being poor, for having being homeless vagabonds, and for having a country, not having a country, rich, poor, for usury, for being money lenders, for bringing plagues, for drinking the blood of children on their matzo balls. And everywhere they went, people found one reason or another to hate them. A gentleman named William Marr eventually came up with the term anti-Semitism. Now, he hated the Jews, but it had become, by the 1700s, it had become unfashionable to hate Jews because they're Jews. So anti-Semitism was actually scientific reasons to hate the Jews. It's the opposite of what people think it is today. So anti-Semitism is just finding a logical reason to hate, a valid reason to hate the Jews. Now, they were in Europe and Asia and America, and they were run out of everywhere they went. And when something would go wrong, they would blame the Jews, and run them out of town, rape and kill and pillage and take their stuff and run them out of town. There were tens of thousands of pogroms, which is the killing and eradication of Jews wherever they went, through Europe, through France. The Holocaust wasn't the only, just the largest and best documented of those pogroms that lasted for centuries. There was the Spanish Inquisition. The Catholic Church hated them. Christian church fathers through the centuries, Luther, others just hated them because of theological differences. Then, when Muhammad came in, he originally, when he started up his thing, he originally tried to just unite with them and say, "Hey, you guys have gone astray. God sent me to straighten you guys out." And the Jews said, "You're nuts. Get out of here." And um, so they, so Muhammad has hated them ever since. If you read their writings, at first he loved them and said they're great and adopted a bunch of their stuff, and then eventually, when they said, "You're crazy, you're crazy, leave," then of course, that's why Islam has hated them ever since. So it's been largely driven by Christian and Islamic religions, but also just reasons, for no reasons. They were eventually run out of much of Europe, and then the Holocaust happened. They've just finally realized that they were going to have to go back to Israel, make a last stand there, which is what Zionism is. It just simply says, "Hey, we try to go everywhere else in the world. They hate us everywhere we go. And we need to go back home and make our last stand together there." That's what Zionism is, and what's happening now. And today, the anti-Zionist cause is simply just to finish the destruction of them. In America, we hated them just as much as Germany and Europe. And the Holocaust was not Germany; it was really everywhere that Germany conquered, and much of Europe, all Europe hated the Jews. So that's why it's easy to look the other way and let them be killed in Poland and many other places, all of Europe really. And they've tried to flee here since the 30s. They tried to flee here. We wouldn't take them because we hated them. We actually turned the ship around and sent it back, and where they went back and died in the Holocaust. We sent. They tried to, and we wouldn't allow them to go. Nobody would allow them to go to Israel either to escape because um, the Arabs and oil. That was our interest. It's always been our interest. Still our interest today is oil, not Israel. Okay. So we tried to prevent them from going there. The whole world prevented them from going there because the Arabs said they can't come here. Okay. So they finally, after the Holocaust, the world went, yeah, I guess they should get their country back and go there. So that's what's happening today. And the the idea that we're on their side, we're supporting them, we're not. We didn't support them. It was a very close call that we support them being a country. We've had weapons embargoes against Israel through much of their half of their modern history. Wouldn't allow them to have weapons. We were hoping that they would be exterminated by the Arabs, and thought they would, and we're very surprised that they're not. And so we didn't arm them or give them any help. We just said, okay, yeah, you can have your country, so they can go there instead of here. We kept them in the 3 years after the war. We didn't liberate them. They stayed there for 3 years because no one in the world would take the Jews. Okay, so they stayed in the death camps and displaced person camps for 3 years until Israel finally became a country, and they took them because we wouldn't take them. And so they've been fighting for their survival ever since. Several times, all the Arab countries, Muslim countries around them have all ganged up and come in and tried to kill them, and they have miraculously survived a dozen wars and battles and wars since the 1940s, since 48 when they became a country. Gaza is simply the latest reason to hate them, and the same excuse. They simply, um, when Israel defended itself, a lot of them left and went to Gaza and other places. Others have come in and tried to. They just really, it's just the world just out to destroy them. You'll notice that um, everybody, if you look in the entire Middle East, there's hundreds of thousands of people, of Arabs and Muslims, being killed all the time. They're killing each other and by the millions, and nobody cares. In Iran, they just killed. Some are saying 30,000 people over the last couple of weeks. Nobody cares because it's not the Jews. The only time the world ever got freaked out about all the killing going on in the Middle East is when it was done in much smaller numbers by the Jews. Okay. So, answer to that, people wonder why. No reason. Every reason. Mostly today, it's driven by the internet, because people can't be bothered to take the time to learn the actual history of Israel and what the world has done to them, the world's never-ending attempt to exterminate them from the planet. Instead, you hear that they're bombing babies, which is simply the latest. They were the latest iteration of all the evil that the Jews are doing. In the Black Plague, they were accused of the plague even after it was proven to be a virus. They said, oh, it was the Jews were poisoning wells. That's what caused the Black Plague, so forth. So today it's Gaza. When that ends, there'll be something else. Uh, Why do we fund Israel? We don't fund them for Israel's sake. In the 70s, when they were creating nuclear weapons, and again they kept getting attacked and attacked, we were concerned that they would have to resort to nuclear weapons, which we didn't want. So we started providing them with other weapons. At the end of the Six-Day War, when they had everybody had come in and they were conquering all the five nations that had attacked them and destroying Egypt and Syria and Jordan, and the Arabs told us, stop these Jews or else there will be no oil for you. Okay, so we that's why we started arming them, so they wouldn't use nukes. They were building their own weapons, which were jets that were better than ours. Okay, we wanted that to stop, but they wanted to buy them from us and wanted to stop. They wouldn't stop. They said, no, these guys keep attacking us. They're gonna keep killing us, and until they keep trying until they end us. America says, we will give you enough weapons that they will stop attacking you. That's why we did it. We did it for our sake, for oil. Okay, that's why we do this, because the Arabs said, get these Israels to stop defending themselves and conquering us, or no oil embargoes, which we've had, which have been devastating to the U.S. So, um, in the Yom Kippur War, when we had reneged on that deal and weren't giving them weapons, um, they were actually loading up 20 nuclear bombs. We saw them from satellites and spy planes. They were actually loading up 20 nuclear warheads on their jets. They were specially made for that, and on rockets that were specially made for those nuclear weapons. And they were fueling them up, ready to go. Okay, because it was their last resort. They were being destroyed and were near their end. And we said, okay, okay, and we sent everything that would fly, full of every weapon we could give them, to stop them from nuking the entire Middle East as their last resort of defense. Okay, and we've armed them ever since. Okay, that is why we do that. Now Israel has, but it's been a golden handcuffs. Okay, we have yanked that chain and made them stop prevailing in several wars since, including the latest in Gaza and in Iran. We pulled that chain and say, you stop now, or we're pulling your weapons. And we embargo their weapons. We didn't even give them weapons they'd already purchased in the war. So that's as brief as I can go. It's really much more expansive and deep why we hate the Jews and what's really going on with Israel and the Jews today. There are many books, many great books that I can recommend, and they're available um, on the entire history of the Jews, clear back 3,500 years, and throughout the millennia up until current day. I'd recommend reading those, and you'll find that virtually everything you do know about Israel and the Jews is simply untrue and ahistorical. So I would highly recommend reading, because it is fascinating. I hope that answers some of that question.